Just a note, the bulk of today's reflection was originally delivered at our last solstice service. So those of you with a keen memory for sermons are going to hear some familiar phrases. I invite you to consider this like a theatrical re-release, just in time for the holiday season. So winter is the season for darkness, but also for light. The winter solstice, which is Wednesday, December 21st, marks the longest night of the year and the first official day of the winter season, and it also paradoxically marks the turning towards light and warmth. After the solstice, the nights grow shorter and the days grow longer. Many of the traditions we people in northern climates celebrate at this time of year, the bringing in of greenery, the stringing up of lights, the innumerable myths and stories of figures who die and are then reborn, they're all ways of capturing the promise of the light through the long, dark, and cold winter, and holding that promise close until it is actualized in the spring. The solstice season becomes a time of expectation and anticipation. It's a looking ahead through the darkness to the return of light. In many times, in many cultures, this mythic celebration of the assurance of the return of light and warmth and life was a way to cultivate hope and resilience. And this was a matter of immense practical concern. Winter could be a time of real peril. If the harvest was bad, if the livestock had taken ill, if insufficient fuel had been gathered, if the spirit of the people was poor or their ingenuity was lacking, winter could be a time of death. Life was sometimes poised on a knife's edge during this season. Resilience could be a life or death matter. And so the promise, just make it through the season of darkness. The light is coming. Warmth is coming. This was a life-giving promise. But at the same time, the mythic insights of paganism and neo-paganism and other ancient earth-based spiritual traditions, the mythic insight is to respect the darkness. The honoring of the solstice then reminds us that death, creative destruction, of falling away of the old is essential to fertility and growth and creation. We need seasons of winter and summer in our life. We need the energy and warmth of light, but we also need the stillness and the rest of the dark. And so diverse ancient spiritualities embrace and honor both the dark and the light, seeking to balance these energies in our life. Whereas we moderns tend to view time as like a relentless arrow, right, directing our life from goal, to achievement in a linear fashion, the pagan traditions emphasize the circular nature of time, the seasons ever turning and returning. And in the same way, the forces of light and dark, death and renewal are circular recurrences in our life. We need the seasons of winter and the seasons of spring to dance, to sing, to create, to love, to turn cartwheels in the warmth of the sun. These are wonderful things. But sometimes we also need rest, stillness, the cool, sheltering darkness. We need quiet conversations with our own spirit under a patient canopy of stars. We need a fallow time for things to grow beneath the surface. We need nighttime for dreaming. Laura Randall, in a 2017 article for the UU World magazine, encourages us not to be too hasty to look ahead to the light. Let us take time, she suggests, to loiter in the dark, She laments that artificial light has made true darkness a scarcity in our lives, which has disrupted both our sleep cycles and our spiritual cycles. The sun never really sets anymore, she observes, on what we can do, what we can accomplish in a day. In the possibilities of darkness, she sees a spirituality that trusts that there is a value in absence as well as abundance. In darkness, there's an emptying out that creates space for mystery, for unknowing, and for transformation, the kind of transformation that comes from abiding with one's own spirit, from resting with the great mystery. The deceptiveness of winter is that it may seem so cold and still and barren when it is in its own way an immensely fertile time. And in the same way, we may go through periods in our own life or in our communities that may seem frozen and barren to others or even to us, but that may prove to be a preparatory season for great new growth and life. It can take a certain amount of spiritual resilience on our part to navigate these seasons in our lives. It can require a certain amount of trust to allow ourselves to go quietly inward, to allow ourselves these periods of pregnant dormancy, and to acquiesce even to the falling away, to the death of some part of ourselves, so that new life can emerge. Can we trust the darkness as well as the light? Can we trust in the gifts that each has to give us? This is a poem called The Darkness Divine by Kristen L. Harper. God resides in depths of darkness as in the light of sunbeams. The moon shines brighter, surrounded by night, and life is secure in the black waters of the womb. As the night sky littered with stars demonstrates again and again, there is beauty in darkness and beauty in light, one no more brilliant than the other, one no more necessary than the other, one always complementing the other. Without the heated darkness of the universe, splitting neutrons, electrons, protons from atoms, life and light would never be. The task for us today is to recognize God in both, to see the divine in the rich brown earth, the textured black walnut, as well as in the white snow, to see the sacred in the panther and the swan, to embrace the dignity of the Black Madonna as is embodied in the Virgin Mary. The task for us today is to look into the multifaceted colors of the onyx and see the miraculous spectrum of color produced in the prism of the diamond. I want to close today's service with a short meditation for the winter solstice that was written by the Reverend Lynn Cox. So I invite you to just take a breath. Let's breathe in together and breathe out. And maybe take one more breath, breathing in, breathing out. Just give your body permission to settle a little bit in the space you're in. Let your eyes close if you're comfortable doing so. We're going to go on a short imaginative journey together. So let's pause as the path of the sun itself pauses on the solstice, reverses, seemingly holding its place for a moment of turning. Let us delve into the gifts of darkness at the winter solstice. Imagine your consciousness sinking down. We follow curiosity and contemplation down into the cold earth, taking a journey to the world below the surface. Just imagine yourself descending into that world below. Here we find acorns cached by squirrels and chipmunks, maybe food laid in store, maybe to become trees in the fullness of time. We find the burrows of hibernating animals, those who sleep and repair. We find seeds, including some that will not sprout unless they first wait through frost and ice. Life finds rest and renewal in the darkness. May those who are weary find comfort. May those who are struggling find meaning and companionship. May those who are injured or ill find recovery. May those who hunger find abundance. Let this be a time of healing, and may the dreams of the dark lead us to share these gifts with one another. And now our imagination rises back to the surface, just to the surface, to life where the cold ground meets the crisp air. And here at the surface, we observe life finding its way. We observe animals eating seeds left on the ground, even though the harvest is long past. We notice the migration of birds, natural movement that allows populations to find places where they can thrive. We observe that trees appear to sleep and yet hold sap that will rise again before the spring arrives. We observe that not everything lives through the winter, and yet that all that has lived returns to the earth and is transformed. Let this be a time of resilience. May the changing seasons bring new meaning and new insights. May creativity and persistence lead us to find resources for all to share. May those who migrate find safety, and may there be good news in the wind. May transformation lead us onward. And now we lift our imagination up to the sky, to the returning sun, to the brilliant winter night. Shifting hours of light and darkness remind us that change is part of the rhythm of the universe. Change is part of the rhythm of the universe. And so trouble does not last. Acknowledging the gifts of darkness, we also look forward to the growing light, a change that brings glimmers of hope. We marvel at the beauty of this time. Stars unobstructed by leaves, jewels of the night shining over the land, moon and meteors inspiring us to awe and wonder. Now I invite us to return to this moment, and you can open your eyes if you've had them closed. Let this be a time of rest, peace, and anticipation, and also a time of celebration for all the beauty that is all around us. What joy can be found? Let us hold it close, blow on its embers, share its spark. We do not take for granted having come this far, and we give thanks for our companions on the journey, and let us hold on together to faith and hope. The dark has powers to nurture us. Warmth and light are coming. The future is rising green all around us. Blessed be, and amen.